afternoon. It's right at 4 o'clock. My name is Ashley Brown, and I'm President and CEO of the Women's Resource Center. And I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm really excited to be joined with our special guest and panelist. But to the embarrassment of my niece, I also have a special co-host with me, my niece Lily Grace Brown, who's joining me from South Carolina. Welcome. And I said to her and Unita and Nikki earlier, I wish I would have had this conversation at 14. I could have used this, particularly in my 20s, but we'll get to that later. First of all, I want to thank all of our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, BMO Harris Bank, our Wonder Women sponsors, the Lewis and Gloria Flanzer Philanthropic Trust, Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and the Community Foundation of Sarasota. They join all of our sponsors in supporting not only the Women's Resource Center, but if you look on our website and check out the sponsors that support this event, and you got to see them on the great opening slides, they're the names that you're going to see supporting our community a lot. So we really appreciate all of the support you give us. So on to the really exciting guest. I'd like to introduce Uneeda Brewer and Nikki Taylor, and I'm going to give them the chance to introduce themselves. These women are so amazing, and I've had the opportunity to get to know them personally. Nikki a little longer than Unita, but Unita for the past year. And both of them not only bring great energy and knowledge, but you just want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with them. Maybe a glass of wine, could be both. So Unita, I'm going to start with you. If you could just give us a little bit of your background and say hello to everyone.
Thank you, Ashley. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here with you and with Ashley and Nikki, my new buds. I worked at Johnson & Johnson in New Brunswick, New Jersey before moving to Florida, and worked in the Global Talent Management Group with executives on developing their capacity to be managers and leaders in a global corporation. And I got to travel globally as the various regions of the corporation implemented the training, and learned a lot about what people have in common, even though they look like they might not have much in common given where they came from or what package they're wrapped in. Since I've been in Florida, I don't know what else you want me to tell you other than I have had a passion for ballroom dancing, and it was so sad to me over the pandemic because I couldn't go hang out with Juan and Eric and Kevin and all my buds in Fred Astaire dance studio, but I hope to be going back soon. I have a coaching practice with executive women and also individual women, and work to help them realize their dreams and aspirations. You're muted, Ashley.
I am muted. Isn't it great? I'm the first one to say unmute yourself. Wonderful. Thank you, Unita. And I just love the joy you bring to any conversation. So, so Nikki gets special credit because Nikki is joining us from a little further away than downtown Sarasota.
Yes, that's right. So if my internet is a little wonky over here, I may have to swap over to video, or else you'll just see my frozen face, you know, the Zoom frozen face. So it's so great to be on with you lovely ladies tonight. I am zooming in from Italy. So again, the Wi-Fi is sometimes a little spotty, but va bene, we go from there. So let's see my background. So healthcare marketing. I have a big passion for wellness journeys, whether that is mind, body, spirit. That's always been something that sort of it touched me early on in life. And, you know, I have been involved with Go Gold for some time now. My son did have leukemia and now is in full remission and is in the survivorship program. So that has been also another great learning experience, and something that really taught me a lot about humans, myself, and our capacities to see the good and to really stay positive. And I do think that is a really important element just in a person's life. And also right now, my business partner, Sky, and I launched a new company called Kivity. And that is a company that helps parents. It is an online site for parents to book all their children's activities, just again, to kind of take the stress out of life so we can focus on making ourselves whole and giving ourselves some time to really tune into what we need in our own growth, right? So, and I do a lot of informal mentoring, just sort of, again, within the community in different groups. It just brings me joy. So, yep, that's me in a nutshell.
Well,
That's
that's just a
exciting.
little bit about both of you all in a nutshell. Well, I am excited to really delve into this conversation because I have learned so much just in speaking to you all and reading some of the materials. As a reminder to all of those of you who are participating, we will follow up with you tomorrow with the recording of this, as well as some books and tools and tips from both Unita and Nikki. So I'm just going to jump right in. And Unita, I'm going to start with you,
Okay.
but then Nikki, feel free we want to hear your piece on this as well. When we talk about mindset, how does a person's mindset prevent them from fulfilling their potential?
Well, Dr. Carol Dweck has done the research that has helped us identify the two mindsets. And you saw some of this information in the opening slides, the fixed mindset compared to the growth mindset. And if we are more inclined to have the fixed mindset, then the decisions we make about how we live our lives and what we are willing to do to go after what we want will be different than if we live in the growth mindset. So for example, the fixed mindset believes that we come into the world with everything we're ever going to have, all the intelligence, all the personality, all the ability, all the moral character. And so there's no way to develop. So that if there's a new opportunity, a person in the fixed mindset might not take advantage of it, might pull back. And that might be the very thing that would help them achieve what they really want in life. But because of the mindset that says, well, if you're an intelligent person, you don't need to take a class to learn how to do something. You should be able to do it just because you're smart. And that can get in the way of us then pursuing new opportunities where we have to learn, where we have to make mistakes, where we have to not look so great all the time because we're a novice. And so that mindset can be more an obstacle than the growth mindset. Does that answer what you're asking, Ashley?
No, I think it does. And Nikki, I'd like to, talk a little bit about you work in a field with marketing and communications where image and plays into. And I think when we look at the world of social media and what people's perceptions are of our lives or our perceptions of other people's life, how does that, I would love for you to talk just a little bit about how that can get you in a negative mindset a bit.
Sure. I think, the thing to consider is really, it's not, I think that people look at things online with the lens of why don't I have that many times, but I think that many times it's looking at what you already do have and the gratitude elements. So I'm guilty of it just like anybody else. There are some days where it is difficult to remain grateful and to really find the positive. But at the end of every day, I challenge myself to really think about all the things that I do have and all the things that make me unique and special, and all the elements where I know that I have great, vast knowledge, and I know that I have helped people, and I know that I'm capable And I think that if you remain grateful and you can accept and be grateful, it helps you along that path to release patterns that don't serve you and go where you really need to go. But if you're so consumed with looking at, why does this person have this, or why did this person get that job, and so you're so focused on that, we only all have a certain amount of energy. So you're giving your power almost away, and you're putting the energy in the wrong place. So that's kind of the way I think of it. Yeah.
And I want to add something, if I might, to what you said.
Absolutely.
That if I or anybody is focused on what other people have, it keeps me, like you say, from focusing on what I have, and also from making a choice that if there's something I want, what can I do to accomplish it, as opposed to having envy for someone else.
I think the goal setting, people laugh, I make a lot of checklists. I love checklists. I love them. I love them. I love a good spreadsheet, sadly, I really do. And I have many apps that will show them to me in various colors and all sorts of, animation. Anyway, that aside,
little things.
I do think that having those even small goals, even
Yes.
it doesn't have to be conquering the world. You've made all your goals in one day. It's just those small goals that you can show yourself your own progress. And it kind of, for me, it tells me like, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I have my roadmap. It might need to be tweaked. It might need to change, but I'm seeing my own progress. And when you're really looking at that, it's also a lot easier to find the joy.
Yeah.
I feel like being joyful. There's so many times where, you'll meet somebody and just seem to be so consumed with, this didn't happen for me. And, this person took my, I was going to get that promotion, or I didn't get, and you have to find the joy, because that energy is what then you're giving. So if someone was truly thinking, what, I really was, are they really going to consider you when you're coming from that place of just anger and lack of joy and lack of awareness? So I think it's so important to find the joy in your daily life wherever you can.
And you're describing the growth mindset, the place of, wow, I can develop myself, I can grow, I can accomplish things. And if I make goals and make progress toward them, I'm going to be filled up with much more excitement and happiness and joy. And as opposed to, as you're describing it, Nikki, resentment and anger, that I didn't get something that I thought I was supposed to have. Well, we need to work for it, don't we? We need to make goals and make progress. So,
Truth.
And I would highly recommend Carol Dweck's book Mindset.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit about this, and kind of to that point that we used, Unita and I did in talking about even this workshop today, of the fixed mindset would be, as I'm presenting and talking, I'm worried more about, do I look stupid? Am I going to ask a dumb question? Are people going to judge me? So all of those things that happen in your head, is my hand going to disappear in my backdrop? Yes. But in the growth mindset, it's more of coming at things from a place of, I have so much more to learn, to be open to say, we're going to have a great conversation, and I don't have to worry about, my mind isn't focusing on how do I appear to others, but focused on what am I learning and gaining from this conversation. That was just one of the examples she gave that just kind of resonated with me. And I bet those of you who are participating can think of those times, whether it's in a board meeting or a business meeting or a class, that you're like, I don't want to ask that question, or I don't want to, and it makes you think of the number of times our thoughts really take us off track. And
Yeah.
if we come up with all of the other reasons of what it might be that we didn't achieve what we wanted to, how many times does it come back to the person in the mirror? It was our thoughts and our opportunities, right?
Yeah. Well, you said it very well. And I hope people who are on the call with us are using this opportunity to think about, how do I think about the way I lead my life? Am I, do I believe that when I took an intelligence test and I got a number, that predicts my whole life, and therefore I'm constantly trying to validate myself? Or am I able to see challenge and learning and growth and opportunity and joy in that, as Nikki was describing, and filling myself up and sharing what I know and being open to what Ashley knows and to what Nikki knows and to Lily Kate, what Lily Kate knows, because Lily Kate knows a lot of stuff at 14, you know, she knows things. Although I can imagine that, well, I know she knows a lot more than we do about a lot of stuff because of the changes in the world, and being open to hearing her point of view is also a part of a growth mindset.
I think that, just to add one quick thing, I think that building awareness to me is about oneself. Mind, body, and spirit is a superpower on its own. And
Yes.
when you take the time to really consider the why
Yeah.
and really, you know, look deeply, I think judgments kind of fall away. And I have been that's a hard one for me. I really struggle with quick judgments. I'm a fast action kind of person. I want to get to the solution. I want to get to the heart of the issue. And sometimes I have to go back and say, wait a second, and really just kind of take it piece by piece because of those judgments. But you take the time to do that, and you take the time to accept who you are and then build that awareness. And it's a very powerful tool for yourself, and also to really be able to let patterns go. And I think that's something that everybody has different, you know, because
Yes.
we are, you know, where we came from, and we all have patterns. But that awareness, I think, and spending the time is what gives you the, you know, the inner strength to really identify things that aren't serving you and sort of let them go.
Yay. And you
Yeah.
know, scientists are discovering that our brain is continuing to grow and change. And so as we learn, our brain changes, we get new neural connections, we become smarter, we are able to do things that we didn't think we could do. And as you're saying, Nikki, when we let go of judgment of ourselves and other people, and really take a look at, what is it that I want to accomplish? What do I want to give? What do I want to share? Who can I help? Then we are really making a positive contribution.
Absolutely. And isn't it interesting that, and I don't know why this kind of registered with me, Nikki, when you were talking about the judgment, is if you look back on your past, that you remember the not so nice things much faster than you remember the nice things. So it's kind of interesting of if you even become aware of that pattern of, and maybe that's just me, but I always look.
No, it's not just you.
Really, thank God. But you know, it's like the, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, or oh, I wish I would have done that differently. Of the, you know, the woulda, shoulda, coulda, that really holds no value other than to learn and move forward. So I kind of want to transition, because the real exciting thing about this is that we have the power to choose and to choose our mindset. So if I am a fixed mindset person, which there's nothing wrong with being a fixed mindset person, I think just being aware, but let's say I'm a negative mindset, and that I spend my days in a negative thought process. Can we change that? And any thoughts of how to change mindset and change those patterns?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Go ahead, Unita.
I'm like, yes, and
no, I'm just wanting people not to be in suspense. Yes, you can change your mind. How many times have you changed your mind in your life already? So of course you can change your mind, except that it's going to take some awareness. I think Nikki talked about this earlier, that we have to be aware of how we're thinking and how we are leading our lives based on that thinking, and then make a commitment to set goals so that we can shift the mindset. Oh, we're making it sound easy, right? Well,
Right.
we know, we know
I know,
it's not so easy, but you can do it. Of course you can do it.
Well, and Nikki, I'd like to hear from you, and then I'm going to ask this of you, and Unita, if you want to come back after Nikki, if you have any tips or tricks of how you've put that in action. Ooh, it's a surprise question.
So sometimes I think that it's very interesting. You know, they say, be careful what you wish for. Sometimes in life, I think we have our ideas in our mind, or perhaps we saw another person, or we saw a parent or a loved one have a path, or we felt inspired by a path, and we get there and it's like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. I need to pivot. I need to do something different. This isn't my life. I think that a lot of times people stay in that space far too long because of the expectation of others, and because of maybe their histories, what their parents or other people around them want. And I definitely have been in positions from time to time where, you know, everybody says, you know, oh, that's great. And you're going, but it doesn't speak to my heart and my soul. And it's not, it's great for someone, but I know that I have other to give. And I know that I need to find that and seek that out. And so, you know, building your awareness and yourself, and knowing really who you are, and really finding what your passion is, and then living it, I think is just, it's the biggest gift you can give yourself. I can't tell you how many people that I have talked to over time, and they're like, I don't know why I stayed in, it could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a friendship for 10 years where I knew it wasn't serving me. I knew it wasn't, gee, I just knew, but I just was afraid, fear to make that change. And I think that the self-work of looking inside of yourself and really knowing and discovering your power, your potential, and like that you're an amazing human being, and just loving yourself and showing yourself that love and being vulnerable. I'm terrified. Like, that's my number one thing, is it's very difficult to say that I'm struggling with something, or even to ask for help is like just kryptonite, my kryptonite. But I've had these life experiences it really helped me to be able to do that, because it just wasn't going to be possible any other way. And so I feel like there's nothing but something like that to really show you, hey, you really need to take stock in this. This is why you have a community. This is why you have all these friends, and here they are, and you're struggling, and here they are trying so hardly to help you open the door. And so it's just, you know, so life is going to teach you, and all of these things are going to lead you to a place where you can really plug in and start living the way that what's really meant for you in your life, and not what is good on paper or what someone else thinks. But again, that self-reflection and that time to build awareness and to realize what is not right for you and what you don't want in your life. That's a huge lesson.
Wow, really powerful. You know,
Mm.
everybody's precious life matters. And if we give out what is ours, our precious gift, not only are we happier, but we're making a bigger ripple effect in our networks and beyond. And I love what you said about reflecting deeply and overcoming the fear, and having friends to support me through many difficult times when I stayed stuck and said, oh my God, how can I possibly move out of this relationship when it was so perfect 5 years ago, but it's not so perfect now? And is this where I want to be? Is this how I want to be living? And if the answer is no, then picking up my courage and making a change, and using resources like Women's Resource Center, which is here to help us when we want to make changes that we need help with.
Oh, really nice segue, Unita, and it wasn't me. Lovely. So this was not on our list of questions, but those are always the best ones that just come out of conversation. I think, Nikki, when you talk about being vulnerable, I, I think that that is something that everyone struggles with, but I think, I just have my context as a woman. It's really hard to ask for help. I mean, it is. And I think that part of creating this Wonder Woman collective when we did kind of at the beginning of the pandemic was that space of how can we connect with one another and really show how similar we are, even through all of our differences. And that ability to be vulnerable with each other makes us so much stronger. It's just a little frightening while it's happening. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Well, it's counterintuitive. You know, we kind of think if I'm vulnerable, people will think I'm weak. And in truth, we all are in need of help and support. And so we make a stronger connection when I realize, oh, Nikki's been through this too. Oh my goodness. I can support her and she can support me.
Absolutely.
Very true. I also think so many times we're taught, and this is a mental wellness sort of element, that it's not okay to not be okay. And I think that is a huge, and I know that there's been work done, and I see great movements in the community embracing this and saying mental wellness, like people struggle, everybody struggles in certain ways, everybody, but it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have to put on the smile. And some days just say to people, no, I'm getting there, but not today. It's not happening. Nope. And be okay with that. And really, I think that, again, that acceptance, I think it's when we don't accept where we are and we don't receive the message from the universe or whatever anybody believes, in my belief, it'll just keep happening. That'll just keep coming right at you until it's like literally like a freight train. Like it'll just, so you just need to be like, yep, that's where I am. Yes, I need to work on this. And I am now aware of this. Thank you, universe, for bringing this to my attention. Or else I feel like just that lesson will just in different ways continue. So just the acceptance, and okay, again, we're not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to every day get up and just, there are times that are really brutal. And, to be real with it, it's challenging, it's scary, but the sooner anybody can do that, I think is the sooner that you can begin to heal. And that is a big, like, traumas and trauma triggered action. I think that's what a lot of people are living from and leading from every day, which probably isn't serving their best selves, right? So, really that awareness.
And they're not, and we don't show up in a way that is authentic if we're denying a big piece of our reality, and if we're not open to getting support. I mean, if I've had a really bad day and you know what that's like, and I ask for your help, I'm going to be comforted. I'm going to get your compassion. I'm not going to get judgment. And the sooner and the more often we can go to each other in compassion and kindness and say, this is not my best day. I didn't do my very best today, and I just really need your help and support, and then to move through that.
Well, and I think for those that are participating, and this is something I'm challenging myself with, when you have an interaction with somebody that's not a pleasant interaction, it's so easy to be like, oh, what's up with them? And I can't believe they treated me that way, or, fill in the blank. And especially if it's a friend or family or that close to you, is to think of it in a way, maybe not at that exact moment, but looping back to say, hey, I'm just checking in on you. That wasn't your normal. Where sometimes I think if we're in that fixed mindset, it's all about us and how we're feeling about their behavior, or their maybe saying something hurtful, or again, fill in the blank, because it could be many things. But that growth mindset of looking at, that's not normal for Unita to snap at me. I'm wondering if Unita's okay. Or so, because sometimes we don't communicate well, especially in that vulnerable space. And having that growth mindset to look at us as connected with each other. And that's not your normal. And are you doing okay?
Which is so kind. As a matter of fact, a friend did that for me a couple years ago. We were at a meeting. I don't even know what I was doing, actually, because I was just, not my usual self. And we took a break, and she came up to me and she said exactly what you said. She said, "Unita, are you okay? You're usually way more calm or way more kind than you're being right now." And I almost burst into tears, because it was like, no, I'm not okay. Thank you. Thank you for, one, reflecting that back to me, because I was mindless and I was hurting. And it created a deeper connection between the two of us. And it also led me to do some of that reflection that Nikki's been talking about. What is going on with me? And how can I move toward healing so that I can be back to my normal?
I saw a little quote the other day, and it was from Young Pueblo, and it said, sometimes the biggest judgments that we make reflect a trauma in ourselves that we the most need to heal. And it really resonated with me. I mean, when we go through traumas of life, whether it be people, divorce, divorce of a friend, relationships, you just look at that and just think about that. And it just was like, mind blown, kind of, for me, just like really to think about that. What does that mean? Again, reflection, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's both empowering and daunting when we think about truly the power lies with us in our mindset. And that's, when we talk about resiliency or bouncing back from things, and what do you want your story to be? Are you going to go into a victim mindset of all of the reasons of woe is me, or choosing, have a moment, when something particularly bad is happening, you have to have that moment of grief or sorrow or fear, but then to be able to shift into I can choose what these next steps are going to look like. And I think,
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
And I can choose to learn something from this. I can choose to find a way forward that makes my future slightly better. I don't have to have a leap forward. I can take a step forward to make it slightly better, because there are painful things, illness, losses in our lives, sickness, and just a myriad of minor traumas and bigger traumas that we all experience. And then to say, what can I learn and what can I do to make it a slightly better future?
And slightly, I think that's another thing too. It doesn't have to be gigantic steps. Before I turn left again, I do want to encourage, if anybody participating has questions, you can type them in the chat box, and we will be able to ask some questions. So feel free. I do want to talk about the failure and when failure occurs, or if I just want to dig a little deeper, Nikki, into something that you said, And maybe it's because my niece is sitting beside me, or I have a niece in California, that sometimes we have expectations on those we love, or people have expectations of us. And if either
Mhm.
it's a situation of something that doesn't work out, or the expectations that we hold on our children or our loved ones. What are some thoughts on moving beyond that?
So sort of helping each person and recognizing who they are individually as like moving up from adolescent to kids and pieces like that. Is that what you're,
Yes.
is that what the question? So I feel like it is really challenging because you want, I mean, as you know, I have three not so littles, 12, 10, and 7. But I feel like it is definitely challenging. My personality, I like to have lots of activities. I want everybody to have various experiences. And so recently I had the experience where my 12-year-old was sharing with me that, you know, she doesn't love volleyball. She wants to play, you know, basketball. She doesn't love. So some of the things that I love, and I say, at first I grumbled, and then I went to some games and I thought, you know what, this is what she loves. So I think once you see the joy, I think in children, as long as it is very healthy and you know, very positive, it's really easy. It's easy to make that change, at least for me. Like 4 years ago, my daughter wanted to, you know, dye her hair pink. And I was like, it's summertime, dye your hair whatever color you want. And I mean, like, you know, because, you know, as a parent, you have to say no a lot. And and, you know, certain members of my family were like, you're going to let your 11-year-old do what? And I just went, it comes out. It's not. So I think finding the times where you don't have to say no. I just don't relish being the spirit squasher. That's not really a role that I'm very comfortable with. So I love to say yes as much as I can. There are definitely some rules about, and I think the other thing that I go with, you know, with my littles is I say, you know, what kind of mom would you really want? The kind of mom that says, oh, you can just be mediocre, you don't have to try. And they just look at me and I'm like, if I just said, don't finish your summer reading, because who cares? I mean, you know, and so I think really challenging and asking them questions, it's them thinking about what they're capable of. It's not what I'm telling them. It's not what I believe. It's really, truly in them. It's their own superpower, not mine. So I try to turn it around a lot and just really empower them to make those choices. Because you know what? They do. They usually do. There's been very few times where they don't want, like, once you say to them, this is you have this amazing brain, you know, you have these, like, you don't want to use it, you're just going to waste it. So just asking those questions and really getting them to tune in on their own, and then really empowering them to use their tools to succeed. You know, the term helicopter or lawnmower parent is abundant recently. And it, you know, I definitely struggle at times with wanting to jump in, but here's what is on the other end of that. On the other end of a parent all the time jumps in, I think is a child that is unempowered to really make their own choices and find their own solutions. And that terrifies me more than it being late or something not being filled out exactly correctly or an assignment that didn't go exactly. I want them to really come into their own, because this is going to be their life. And at a very, you know, they need to start owning it, or else what's their future? I mean, they won't know how to be in this world. So I think just that scares me more than the other. I need to let them fly a little bit and let them be. So.
And also let them learn how to get back up if something doesn't go the way they want, how to recover, how to keep moving forward. Because as you say, real life is about not always getting everything you want, not always having things go easy. And if you don't know how to get back up, then how will you have a life that's worthy of you, of that great brain that we have?
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud you, Mom, Nikki, for being able to turn the tables and say, hey, is this the kind of mom you'd like? Somebody who says, don't read, who cares? Swim, whatever you want to do, versus asking them to dig in and say, oh, I want to be the kind of person who grows and learns and is able to develop myself to my highest potential. And that's our job as parents and teachers and coaches anyway, to help kids tap into and develop their potential. And so when we're adults and they're adults, and those of us on the call who are adults, we still have the capacity to develop potentials that we may not even know we had because we were blocking ourselves. We can still, as adults, continue to grow and develop and have that Nikki voice that says, is this it? Do I want to be the kind of person who stops short of what I can do and grow and share with the world? Of course not. Of course not. I think we have some questions and I think we have some chats.
We do. So I know, I think I'm going to take that voice. I might dye my hair pink though, just for fun. That could happen.
I dyed my hair blue once in my 20s and it was so scary because it was like, oh my God, but it's so fun. It's so fun.
And we digress, which is my gift. So one of the comments really is someone telling us we look pretty, which we appreciate.
Thank
The
you.
love on that. So, and then Kim Bailey, I think it was just really reiterating that women by nature, we're fixers, and not all, but the majority. I know that I solve problems that no one asks me to all the time. And that's something that there's so many things I'm working on, but that's another one of like, wait, no one really asked for my input or help on this, and I don't need to get involved and fix this for them. So Kim, I agree. And women are hard on themselves.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, there's a whole new field of study called self-compassion. Imagine somebody saying to us, be as kind to yourself as you are to your friends. If your friend made a mistake, would you yell at your friend? Of course not. You'd be compassionate. Be that to ourselves, because that actually helps us keep growing and keep getting back up when we feel like, yeah, I can make progress on this. And not to label ourselves. That was the other thing, not to internalize the mistake and say, I'm clumsy or I'm not good, but to say, I made a mistake. I can learn and grow from a mistake. I can make it better.
Ooh, and talk about another scary thing to say out loud. I was wrong and made a mistake.
Oh gosh, yes.
Right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
But it's, again, it's so much easier just to acknowledge that piece and then move forward and do better. So, you know, Nikki, I think I cut you off. Sorry.
No, I was thinking about that and how often I find myself, one, I had to really, it's accepting compliments when people make compliments. Thank you so much. I appreciate you noticing that. It took me years because it was always like, oh, no, and it's okay. It's okay to know like, hey, I'm rocking this. I'm awesome. I'm doing a great job, and being our own cheerleaders rather than the judgment of like, oh, not quite. No, I can't take that. No. Yes, you can. Yes, you really can. Yay, go you. And so that has been a challenge. And then the other thing is to say, I'm doing the best that I can in a difficult situation. And people, once you, I think, say that, the judgment, it's kind of, when you feel the judgment of different situations, it could be a parent, a grandparent, a spouse, just saying that, I think and I almost feel like it puts a bubble around me before I react, because I'm how do I say this? I'm volatile and I do that. And I react. If anyone here is taken online right now, is taking the Enneagram, I'm an 8, like a pretty high up there 8. And so it's a reaction to things that feel unfair. I want to challenge it if it's unfair and not equitable. So I feel like wrapping that bubble and just saying to yourself and to that person out loud, I am doing the best that I can in a really tremendously difficult situation, kind of just stops. It puts a pause on things. And then you can kind of continue a dialogue without ripping someone's head off, because I have done that. And it's not the best road. Nope, not
Well,
the best.
and who hasn't? And Nikki, if you and I could just say this a moment together,
Okay.
I think that the reframe is that you have a reaction in heated situations, that
Yes.
don't own that volatility inside yourself.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
reaction. That's a way of
Mhm.
reacting
It's a
when things are crazy. And when you come back to yourself, you get centered and it's like, okay, I have another choice to make here. And somebody said, and I didn't catch the name, that at the age that they are in their 50s, they still don't know what they want to do. Hooray for you. That means
Mhm.
that you have so much opportunity. I was just reading in AARP today, um, people who had retired and have second acts. They're artists, they're knitters who are making textured uh, kinds of art displays, they're writers, they're dancers. Yes, explore what it is that you'd like when you don't know. I think that's a wonderful place to be. And don't own the behavior as being a part of you. It's a reaction.
Mm.
I
And I
like
love when
that.
people say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I say, good. Don't grow
Yes,
up and just keep discovering, keep
keep discovering.
discovering little mini yous and keep sharing that with the world. Because I mean, I think it's such a cruelty when people say, well, you have to know it's just the one thing. Well, maybe for some people it is. That could be true. I do know people that discovered their passion very early on, and
Yeah,
it truly is their passion, and they
yeah,
grow with it and they learn and they layer pieces on, and that's awesome. But sometimes that's just not the way. So what works for one doesn't work for the other, and that's okay, And so just to be okay with that. It's okay to
yeah.
not know exactly who you are and what you want. Good for you. Let's continue to
Absolutely.
grow.
I mean,
Well,
I
and
was a
oh,
liberal
go
arts
ahead.
major. I was a liberal arts major in college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was a saving grace because I could explore a lot of different things. And whoever said that they still don't know what they want to do, I'm still exploring. I'm still going, wow, look at that. Maybe I'd like to do that. Who knows? Let me try that out. Okay, Ashley, back to
Well,
you.
no, and I would say on that, especially if it's a work issue and you're self-supporting, and so money's always
Yeah,
one of
money
those
comes
things,
into
and the
play.
ability to support ourselves.
Yeah.
One of the things at the center that I think is great is our career coaching. And
Yeah.
really, we have wonderful volunteers, mentors that can give you the space to help figure out what you might be interested in. And the thing that I like about working with somebody that you don't know is they don't have an opinion on who you should be or what you should be doing, which is really nice. So I would encourage, if that, still needing the income stream would, if you're 51 is probably a reality,
Yeah.
that might be a great investment of your time to connect with a coach to talk about that. And it's a free service and it's awesome. I think it's great. And one of my closest friends, who her kids were out of the house, she was an empty nester, and she came to me and she's like, you know what, I think I want to be a realtor. And I'm like, oh, that's a terrible idea. Like, why would you? And and I just wanted to put it all back in my mouth because I realized I was speaking from
Yeah.
me and
Where you
how
are.
I would hate
Right.
being a realtor.
Yeah.
Right.
Nikki, kind of like you, I'd be like, dude, I've shown you 3 houses. That's obviously enough. Pick.
That's good. We're all
What
set.
are you doing?
You get 1, 2, or 3. I'm out.
I
Yep.
know. So
Not probably my forte.
I know.
But yeah,
So, but
I hear you.
she
Also
met
a
with a
great
coach.
way to
She
be.
met with a coach and did great. Sorry, Uneeda. I keep talking
No,
over
no,
you.
no, no. We're just, I think so. So this is what's happening to me right now. This is such an exciting conversation that, I just want to jump in all the time and go, oh yeah. What about this? What about that? So I apologize to Ashley and to Nikki and to everybody on the call. That's what's going on. We're building our excitement as we're talking.
True. Okay, this is a great question. Would you say an external positive mindset, such as in a group of friends, is it as essential as a positive internal mindset?
Hmm.
So
So like your environment, who you're around, I do kind of think there can be truth. I do have some friends that tend to be, they do tend to, they say, the glass is half full, or I feel like they feel that they're being pragmatic. Sometimes I feel that it's a little bit negative. So I feel like you just have to know who you are, and maybe it makes sense to have a little bit of everything. If you feel that your energy is being I don't know, dampened, and you're not able to really express yourself, or you feel that it kind of, just takes your power away, I feel like that's another different sort of emotional vampire group type situation. I definitely have seen that before. So I think it just depends on what you know to be true, and only each person can know that for themselves, about the people that they associate with. And sometimes it's okay with, again, back to the judgment. And I struggle with that, just to say, instead of saying, I don't like that, or this, just maybe this isn't for me, and just stepping away from it in a way that's not a rude way, but just like stepping away and filling your time with things that are for you, and choosing things that are more aligned with you. I do feel like it can really, maybe in some ways, derail who you're becoming, if you are giving your time to people who are kind of pulling that energy and not letting you, in some ways, and you're allowing that to happen and not evolve. So I think stepping away from the things that aren't serving you. And you do know, I mean, I feel like when you take stock, nothing like a national pandemic to help, like I'm speaking for myself, to really look at, okay, what is really working in my life and what is really not working? Because it was like the forced stop of, no, you're really going to have to just slow down and look at that. And a lot of great thinking and evolution came out of it, for me. So just really thinking it through, and that awareness again.
I agree. And it's actually better to associate with people who lift you up and who support your growth and development. And while certainly having pragmatic friends is a good thing, but there's a difference between pragmatic and pulling people down. So just like you said, Ashley, geez, if you're 51, you probably still need an income stream. Let's figure out how you can explore what you want and keep the income stream, versus saying, what, are you kidding? You're 51. You can't possibly do that. That's a whole different way of responding to a person, and the uplifting people help us more. And getting our insides right is absolutely essential for me to know me, and for me to be able to say, Nikki is a person that I want to be connected to, because I get energy from her and she really helps me think about new ways of doing things.
Me too, Unita. Yay!
Yay, right? And we're almost out of the pandemic. I'm ready for Scotty to beam me to wherever you are, because I want to be there.
Dancing.
Yes, I want to be there.
Dancing.
And when I decided, I was 68 or 69 when I decided I wanted to do ballroom dancing, and I kept making excuses. I don't have a partner, and where can I go? And this is really nuts. And I walked into the studio, and my 25-year-old soon-to-be teacher was like, hello, we're so glad you're here. And all of a sudden, it seemed like not such a ridiculous idea after all, because I wanted to do it. Not because I wanted to be on television, but just because I wanted to do it. And why not? Why not? And
Why
so we
not?
want people like that who to support our dreams and our aspirations.
So a couple of more questions. I think we have time for about 2 more questions. So
Oh my goodness.
I told you guys it was going to go fast. And Pamela, or the participants, we're having fun. I think we would have had fun, just the 3 of us, and plus Kristen supporting us. One is how do you maintain a growth mindset in a society that judges so harshly? And the kind of example was, if you have a child that is not behaving well, or maybe he's made bad decisions, it's always like, well, judging the mother, and what were you doing? So how do you maintain the positive growth mindset in the face of criticism?
Hmm. Hmm. So I think,
Mom start first.
okay, so I think in my mind, so just as a brief aside, so when Austin was going through treatment, there was a certain point where they said, you can send him to school or you can keep him home. Obviously, this is prior to COVID. And as soon as he was well enough, I sent him. And I definitely had several parents, both men and women, and say, you're sending him. How could you, are you crazy? And I just said, to me, it's about also a positive. This is something that gives him it makes him feel like a kid. He wants to go to, this is what he wants. He's social. He enjoys his friends. I'm weighing all these things out. And I really do believe that this is really important for him. And that's a choice that we're comfortable as a family making. And I feel like when you put it back that way, it kind of stops people and that's their opinion. That's where they're coming from. And just really standing strong and knowing that you've taken the time to really think it all the way around and to be okay. And it's going to happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People are going to criticize, people are going to do all those things, but really knowing and taking and being strong in your conviction and knowing, yeah, I thought this through. This ain't my first merry-go-round ride. I know this. I know where I'm going. And just really being strong and saying, I would ask you to respect our, where we are in this. We really did come together and think about it. And usually when you put that back, they might not agree with you on all levels, but it's a respect item. So, but yes, people can be very critical about a lot of very personal things.
And a way that we might help ourselves in the face of external criticism is to put a little bubble around us. To inside ourselves, we've said just what Nikki said. We've thought about this. We've made a good decision. People make mistakes. Children make mistakes, and we support our son, daughter, niece, nephew to get back on the right track with love and support. And then to put a little bubble around oneself and be with people who uplift you. Don't go if you're scared of the woods, don't go in the woods. Or, if you go in this door, you got 3 doors in front of you, and one door is people who criticize me. Don't go in that door. Another door, people who support me. Go in that door. And maybe another door is people who support me and give me good advice. Those are 2 good doors to go into. Don't go in the door where people are constantly criticizing you.
And I think it's okay to say, I'm not for everyone, because sometimes you're just not, and that's okay.
Yeah,
just save your sparkle for your own crew. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Nikki, I laugh that I tell people it took a while for me to grow into this personality. So I made some mistakes along the way for sure.
And who hasn't?
Right. So kind of the last question, and I think it really ties in to the answers that we just gave, because it was the same kind of premise on being judgmental, but it's your family. Yeah. So do either of you have something to add, that if it's a family member, just a thought of how to even neutralize or maybe protect yourself?
Unita, do you want to take this one? I know you have some
thoughts. Thank you so much. Well, what I do works for me. And I think we all have to find a what works for me solution. And I don't always have to be right in family discussions where there's disagreement. Sometimes I choose to say what I need to say, and that's that. I'm not having an argument with anyone because they have a different belief. I just can say, this is the way I think about that, and I appreciate your way of thinking about it is different. And we can just live together at this event, knowing we love each other and we see things differently. Now, that's kind of an ideal way of looking at it, and yet it also is a way of looking at it and doing it. And I see something else in chat. And you know what?
Yeah.
There are counselors and coaches and other people who are available to help us navigate these difficult experiences. Us being on this call is not going to solve everything that you have to say, maybe nothing that is on your mind. We're kind of shining a light around and saying, here's some things you may want to look at, and here's some resources that we can offer that can help you explore that.
Which is a wonderful way for us to kind of wrap up this discussion. Our hour is gone. Something exciting to think about before we say goodbye is the next Wonder Women Collective is going to be in person. We're doing a happy hour 5 to 8 on October 21st at the Hyatt. So that's our plan now. As we know, in this past year and a half, things can change, but at this point, we're looking forward. We'll keep the crowd, we'll still be mindful of the numbers, but we are looking forward to being in person, but we will continue our virtual conversations as well. And Unita and Nikki, I knew this was going to be a great conversation. I was really excited about the topic. Thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom with us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much,
My
Ashley.
pleasure.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Have a safe journey your next step of the way.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And again, everyone who joined us today, thank you for being here. We appreciate all of our sponsors and all of you interested in being part of the conversation, and look forward to connecting again soon. Thank you.
Bye, guys.